All right, you guys ready to talk rock? Let's get the CEO and owner of Modern Drummer magazine, the world's biggest and longest running drum magazine. Dives deep into everything drums, all the good stuff. What's up, Baloo? And he's very, very knowledgeable, very experienced in the music industry, has a lot of insights and stuff, has worked with Ozzy Osbourne, AEROSMITH, Kiss. You think of a rock band, a big rock band, he's worked with them. What's going on, man? How you doing?
I'm doing great. Backstage at Hard Rock.
Okay.
So we're Hard Rock with Rock Talk, and here we are. I'm on my phone, as you can probably tell, and backstage and catering.
What kind of food do they have back there at the Hard Rock Cafe?
Jay, what do they have for food over there? Oh God. Let's see. Let's find out.
So what were you doing over at Hard Rock today? Tell us.
Here. Yeah, can you see this? There's catering.
Oh man, that looks nice.
It is. What is fresh braised tomatoes? What's the first one?
Ginger jasmine rice.
Ginger jasmine rice.
They're treating you well over at the Hard Rock.
Roasted cauliflower.
Airline chicken, whatever that means.
Grilled airline chicken, whatever that means.
Very healthy, sounds like it.
Grilled flank steak and seared salmon.
All right, salmon and steak. It's a good day in catering.
Absolutely.
So what's happening? What's happening out there? How's chat?
They're doing good. Chat, how you doing? Say hi to David. Everybody spam W Rock Talk in the chat. This is our weekly show where we check in, take a pulse on the health of rock, see what's going on in the world, and take some steps back in time too to find out how it all ended up the way it is. Oh yeah, chat's loving this. What's up, Fletch?
They're loving it. All right, we love them.
What's up, Tebow? So tell us, what are you doing at the Hard Rock Cafe?
It's the Hard Rock Hotel and live venue and cafe. So it's a whole Hard Rock complex here, and there's an artist performing today that I just interviewed and we filmed, and we're doing a whole bunch of really, really awesome content for Modern Drummer, which is, that's what Rock Talk is for Modern Drummer. Everything we're doing here is for Modern Drummer and for chat. And so that filming was here. So I will reveal on a later Rock Talk who we were rocking with, because it's content that we haven't released yet. So it'll be a big surprise. But you can imagine, very big artist, because Hard Rock is a major venue. I mean, it's over 6,000 people capacity.
Oh, wow.
And so it's not an arena, but it's pretty close. And so always a major artist.
All right, David's keeping secrets, chat. You got to check out Modern Drummer on YouTube for when the video drops, right. And make sure you go to moderndrummer.com.
And my channel, my Modern Drummer, my David Frangioni YouTube channel.
Yes, that's right, David Frangioni on YouTube as well. Subscribe to all of them. We got a question. Is this the new Hard Rock in Bakersfield? I don't believe so, right?
No. In Bakersfield with Kiss. They weren't playing at the Hard Rock. They were playing at the arena there. Bakersfield, very cool. The home of Korn, as I'm sure you know, the band Korn. Jonathan's based out of there. But this is Hard Rock, Hollywood, Florida. The Hard Rock Seminole Hotel, Casino, Cafe, and Hard Rock Live, as I believe the actual live venue's called. And it's in Hollywood, Florida, which is just basically Fort Lauderdale.
Awesome. From one Hollywood to another.
That's right. That's right. We're rocking and talking bi-coastal Hollywoods.
That's right. So what I kind of want to talk to you about today is you have a lot of experience working with this band. They go by the name of AEROSMITH. Chad, have you heard of the band AEROSMITH? You familiar with AEROSMITH? If you wouldn't mind, could you just give us a little thing about how maybe you got involved with AEROSMITH and what you've done with AEROSMITH and yeah.
Man, well, AEROSMITH are dear to my heart. They're such a huge part of my life and career. And I started working with them in 1989, and still to this day work with Joe Perry and remain in close contact with all the guys. So it's a relationship that's still alive and you know, just rocking really. But in 1989, I was introduced. So I first met Tom Hamilton, who's the bass player of Aerosmith, right? So the original band, um, from their first album in 1973, which has Dream On and Mama Kin on it. And it's actually we
Amazing.
talked about this on one of our episodes, it's being reissued in March as a super deluxe box set, that first iconic album. So the band's been together, and Tom Hamilton, the bass player, in 1989, he was referred to me, and there's no short version of this story, okay?
That's perfect.
It's a
Hey,
long,
we're here to get the full
it's a-
story.
yeah, it's a long story.
What's up, Ram Frog?
Basically what happened was, I was doing a lot of MIDI consulting, was starting to get a really strong clientele and doing a lot of work in New York. I'm from Boston, where Aerosmith, of course, is from. And was doing a lot of work in Boston, New York, and all around, and really building my career up. And I would put my business cards in the local music stores that had all the technology in them, because there weren't that many stores that had technology. There were no Guitar Centers at this time and no chain stores. There was a couple of local stores in Boston that, like, all the tech, that's where you went. And remember, in the 80s, a music store was like going to a technology library. It's like you walked in and all this gear that you read about, you heard about, you watched your heroes use was in front of you. And that was the only access you had to it. So I was living in music stores when I wasn't working with an artist. And so I put my business cards in EU Wurlitzer in Boston, which was the #1 store at that time. And Tom Hamilton from Aerosmith walked in on a break from tour and picked up my card, and one of the guys in the department that he was in, keyboards or, recording or wherever he was, and they said, "That guy's the best. If you need help, call him." So he called me, and I went over to his house to help him with a home studio setup. And I'll never forget it. I remember when he called me initially, I would get calls all the time from different clients, and I would write their name down. And, sometimes they were famous, sometimes they weren't. But it was always a thing where I kind of knew, what I was walking into. If they were famous, I knew, it was Elton John or it was this one or that one. And if they weren't, then I would just know, okay, it's just somebody with a rig. And I would go and help them with it and set it up and work on whatever project they had. So with Tom Hamilton, that name is not common, but it's kind of John Smith, Tom Hamilton. I mean, it's more common than not. And I thought to myself, I knew the band Aerosmith. I was a huge fan of theirs. And I knew that was the name of the bass player. So when he called, I didn't want to say on the phone, "Are you an Aerosmith?" So I was like kind of poking around, like, "Oh, when I get to the house, is it a big house, a small house?" And he was so modest that everything he described didn't sound like he would be the bass player from Aerosmith. It sounded like I was just going to somebody's house to help them with a setup. So I get there, and as I'm walking to the door, I look over in the garage. Garage door's open, and it's a nice house, but it's not like some massive rock star house. And the garage is open, and there's a couple of Ferraris in the garage. And oh my God, this is Tom Hamilton from Aerosmith. I guarantee it. I think this is coming together. As soon as my brain finishes processing it, he opens the door, and there he is. And I'll never forget, I was so taken back. And remember, guys, I'm 20 years old when this is happening. I'm a kid. I don't know, sheet from Shinola, as the saying goes. And I was just really driven, really motivated, really ambitious, and really excited. So I said to him in like the moment of processing, "Are you in a band?" And he goes, "Yeah, Aerosmith. Would you like a juice or a coffee?" And I'm standing in his kitchen at this point, and I didn't know what to say. Juice. And so we go downstairs and we work for hours that day on his setup, and he was writing some songs, and it was a great session. And I thought to myself after, wow, like what a moment to have had an afternoon with a member of AEROSMITH. I'm such a huge fan, and he's such an iconic musician and star. And I just thought that one moment I was so grateful for, and I just thought it was so special. And being from Boston and being, following the band, and I'd seen them live a bunch of times, so this was really a moment. And then I couldn't believe it, but he called me back. I went back, did another session. Then he had to go away with the band for a few weeks, whatever. And then I thought to myself, well, I had 2 sessions. They were really successful. Wow, what a moment. That to me, that was my AEROSMITH chapter had been written. And although I wanted it to be a lot more, I was happy that it was anything. And so I kept in touch with them. This is pre-internet, pre-email, pre-texting. So, you pick up the phone and you call and you like stay in touch. And then he called me one day. And he said, hey, do you want to come down to the studio? The band is going to rehearse, and we're working on this album, Pump. And we want to experiment a lot more with technology. And I mentioned you to the guys and said, look, this guy really knows a lot. Why don't we invite him down? And everybody was cool with it. So this was my moment. So I went to what was essentially an audition. And he was very nice. He's an amazing guy, still to this day, a good friend of mine. And he said to me, look, I'm not offering you a gig. He was, straight ahead about it, but I'm offering you an introduction. And I thought to myself, that's all I can ask for. So I went in and I got, you office drummer, you already know this about me. It's my philosophy is if you're not early, you're late. So I got to the rehearsal studio so early because I was so excited that the rehearsal studio hadn't even been opened yet. So I literally was standing in front of the door waiting for the guy to come and open the rehearsal studio. So anyway, I get in there and, the rehearsal guy and me are the only ones there. I'm probably 2 hours early at that point. And as the afternoon is building, I'm in the waiting area in this couch on the other, and there's a set of doors, and inside the doors is where the band's going to rehearse. And the guys start coming in one at a time. And of course, who comes in last? There's 5 guys in the band. Who's the 5th member? Steven Tyler makes a grand, entrance. And it's so exciting. I'd never met Steven, and I just couldn't believe it. It was so exciting. So anyway, they go in and I'm waiting for my call, and I start hearing them playing AEROSMITH songs down. And it's just, you want to talk about the world's greatest rock band, man. There's no surprise how and why they are. So they just sounded amazing. And I had seen them perform live in concert a bunch of times, but just being like 20 feet away on the other side of these doors, hearing them play like you would hear a local band play because I'm that close, it was just ripping. And I was just like, wow, man, this band is so awesome. So anyway, they poke their head out and they say, hey, come on in. We're ready.
Yeah, man. How are you?
And I go in, and the first song they want me to work on with him, it's Steven. Steven Tyler says, hey, come over here. He's got a keyboard set up, and I had brought a sequencer and a bunch of pieces to use. And he said, let's work on this song. And it ended up being Janie's Got a Gun. And so we start sequencing it, working on different parts of it. And basically by the end of that song, I never left. They really liked what I did. And I ended up becoming their in-house kind of one-man show. I would run the console. I would do I'd record the demos with them, the songwriting with them, get all the sounds ready, get the sounds ready for tour, do all the technology, all the Pro Tools, one-stop shop. And I ended up working on 7 albums with him, from Pump to Just Push Play. The Disney ride, the Hollywood Studios ride, the pinball game, the Guitar Hero, and you name it. And we were working on these different projects. And Mrs. Doubtfire, we did an edit of Dude Looks Like a Lady, and just a number of things. So it's been an incredible ride. I'm incredibly grateful, and it's just another example of dreams can and do come true.
Dream
Sorry for the
on.
long story, Office Drummer.
No, it's beautiful because I actually haven't heard that story. Actually, I haven't heard how it all went down. Wow, that's so cool. So it speaks so much. You're 20 years old. You're going around. You're putting in business cards to random businesses. I mean, that alone takes so much effort and so much.
Yeah, I had a sign that was that was part of the my presentation. I had like a laminated sign that I had made, and it said, MIDI consulting, technology services. When I look back, I was really early to this. I was right at the forefront, cutting edge of all of these sea changes that I helped influence: MIDI, home recording, digital at home, Pro Tools, sampling, sound libraries for drum loops. These were things I was all first on, and kind of helping move forward in the sea change that would occur at all of these innovations. And I just worked really, really hard. To your point, I was always just going the extra mile, sacrificing. I still do, sacrificing whatever I needed to, just really not looking at. I never look at the clock. I never look at a scorecard or anything like that. I just look at the goal, and I look at what I need to accomplish, and I just give it everything it takes. Plus.
Wow. And that's certainly how you ended up here. So what I think would be interesting to know, just even more general than working in music and stuff, when you meet somebody like that who is one of your heroes and now you're working directly with them, how do you process that without getting overwhelmed or feeling inadequate or imposter syndrome, all the things that come along when you're young and you get kind of your first big break? What was your mentality going into all of that?
Well, it's a great question, and I really did need a very deliberate approach to that, because the AEROSMITH wasn't the first rock star I dealt with. The band and Steven and Joe, I'd already gotten some breaks before that. They just were breaks where I did a project for a superstar and then I was done. Right. So as my career grew and as AEROSMITH came on and they were a steady collaborator of mine, my projects lasted a lot longer. Like we talked about Ozzy, I was with him for 10 years, whatever. But prior to AEROSMITH, the projects were much shorter periods. So I had to come up with a strategy. That's my point. To your question, I had to come up with a mindset. I had to come up with a way to not get starstruck. And the way that I did it, the answer to your question is, I channeled all of my nerves into the goal. So I had to adjust my mindset and say, take all this excitement. Don't look at this person as the celebrity that I've been looking at on TV or listening to on records. Look at them as a person that I need to contribute to, and I need to be on my A game. And I need to channel all of those nerves and all of that energy into that. And of course, when you do that and you're able to get your mind calibrated for that, you can do some great things. And then you do contribute. And then the celebrity, whoever you're working with, says, yeah, this was a great session. This was a great collaboration, and they want to keep going.
So when you're in the studio working with them, what was it like? I mean, you said it was amazing to hear them so close, but what was their process like? How do they work as a band? How do they write songs?
Wait, I'm trying to get a rock star to come and join us for a second and say hey to chat. Chat, you want a rock star to just jump in here for a second?
Chat, put some W's in the chat for a rock star. Yes, absolutely.
What's chat want?
What's up, Too Salty? Yes.
They do.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
All right, so sneak in here.
I mean,
All right. So
I'm no rock star.
you are the rock star.
The rock star.
So Jermaine White. Let's get you on camera.
Hey, Jermaine,
My
what's
man.
up?
How you doing? You alright?
Office drummer, Jermaine
Nice to meet
White,
you, sir.
playing at this awesome venue. We're talking rock. Now, I know your background, as you shared with me, is soul and jazz and gospel, but at the show and on tour, you're playing rock.
Yes.
And what we didn't talk about a lot was your rock background, your passion for rock.
Yeah.
What is it? This is rock talk, so talk some rock.
My first influence is well, talking about gospel music was probably like the whole Hillsong vibe. Yeah, like the deep snares, the big drums for sure, the big cymbals. Definitely changed the sound and the narrative of gospel music for sure. And we're talking like maybe early 2000s. And this is before I had my own gear, so it was always hard to try and imitate that type of sound. But yeah.
When you think of rock that you really enjoy, okay, in that lane, who would it be? What bands and what?
Yeah, definitely like the early Planet Shaker stuff. There was actually Hillsong UK used to come to a church that I used to play at called Ruach Ministries, and they used to learn a lot from us and obviously do their own thing, their own spin on things, which was really, really cool. But it gave me a different perspective for sure, in how to approach the music. And yeah, like double pedals and stuff like that. Like the hard rocking, the hard grooving for sure, the bigger snares.
Did you play double pedal at any point?
I did at one point. I tried. Still a work in progress to
Right.
be fair.
But you're a single pedal guy.
Yeah, for sure.
What would be a rock band that everybody's heard of that you really like? What's your
Green Day for sure.
Okay, so you like
Day.
punk rock
Yeah,
as
yeah.
much as you like rock, like
Yeah.
traditional rock.
Traditional rock.
You're a
You
Green
Blaze
Day
and
guy.
Chad,
Yeah,
welcome.
I love Green Day.
And you like Trey?
Vibe. Yeah,
Yeah, he's a great drummer.
Sure.
Great friend, great drummer.
Sure. I'm not gonna stay too long.
No, I know. No. He's got a show to do. We've got a show to do, office drummer. Jermaine White, everybody, chat. Give him, come on, put a W in there.
Thank you,
my man.
Jermaine.
Get ready.
Appreciate
Thank
you.
you for being so gracious.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. He is amazing person, amazing drummer, and just so great of Jermaine to stop by.
Guys, follow him on Instagram, Jermaine White. It got linked in the chat there
Jermaine
by
White.
Too Salty. Thank you, Too Salty. Appreciate that. But we don't know who he's playing with. That's still the mystery.
No, but we will find out very soon. We just gave it away, I'm sure. So that's in today's world. That's like, at this point, they probably have his passport pulled up.
Hey, Chad, who's doing the research? Who's doing the detective work right now to figure it out? That's awesome.
If I wanted to hide it that much, I wouldn't have said his name. But it's all in good fun, office drummer.
Oh, it's all in good fun.
It's rock talk after all. We're supposed to have fun.
That's right. That's absolutely right. So let's take it back. You're in the studio with AEROSMITH.
Yes.
What is that like? What are they like in the studio? How does it work?
They are hardworking, meticulous, focused, and Steven and I get along so amazing, and Joe and me. I mean, the nucleus, because Joe and Steven really kind of drive the ship in the studio. They write a lot of the songs or co-write a lot of the songs, and they really are the kind of the captains of the ship, if you will. And so whatever tempo they're running at, whatever speed is kind of what everything runs at. And they run at a very fast speed with a lot of volume, a lot of energy. So it really fit. It was a really good fit. So Steven and I think that's why that day that he and I worked together on Janie's Got a Gun, and that first day we ever met was the first day of 35 years, because we think the same, we're like super into what we do. And so a day in the studio is, 8 to 10 hours. And if things need to keep going, we're working on something, then it's beyond that. And it could be every day for a year. So it's a lot of work, and they don't stop till they get it.
Wow. Every day, no days off.
sometimes they would take days off. It just depended on what needed to be done. It would just depend on where we were in the process, right? It's like when you're songwriting, you can have a little more ebb and flow. And then when you get to the recording side of things, you have to, you have to just kind of, you're on the clock, right? When we did the songwriting, we were at Joe's house or Steven's house. So they have their own studios, which I built for them. And
Nice.
there would be a little more time because they're not on the studio clock. They're just on their, whatever their record making clock is. But in the commercial studios, which were some of the records were done in, those commercial studios, are very expensive and you want to get in and you want to get the tracks done.
So when they're recording, let's see, this must be like early 90s at this point, or
Well, yeah, Pump was 89 and then Get a Grip was next. And then we did Big Ones, which was 2 new songs and greatest hits. And then we did 9 Lives and Just Push Play. And in between 9 Lives and Just Push Play, we did Self of Sanity, which was a live album. And which I recorded all the shows on Tascam DA88s, if anybody remembers those. So modular 8-track digital. We recorded the shows on the 9 Lives tour that would then be mixed for the Self of Sanity album. And then we did Just Push Play. And then there was another greatest hits album in there. And that was my run of AEROSMITH albums. And then a bunch of singles and all the special projects that we talked about, games and rides and, all these, when you're that band, there's a lot of sync deals and, things that you have to get new product.
I do want to get to the games and the rides because that's really interesting. I want to know how that all came about. But I want to ask, what kind of technology were they using in the studio at the time? Were they recording to a click? I mean, they're a band from the 70s, so they come from that era of let's get together and just play. By that point in the band, obviously they brought you in and were experimenting with technology and stuff, but can you speak on their take of technology and how it was incorporating into the band and maybe changing what they were doing?
Yeah, definitely. No, it's a great question because there was very much an evolution. They always wanted to push the envelope. They always wanted to get better, more, faster ways of doing things, faster ways of accessing sounds and editing. Because the creative process, they're such creative geniuses that they didn't want any barriers between their ideas and their playing and their creation and the capture and editing of such. So the technology was a really important piece. So to answer your question, when I started, it was an analog console and it was 2-inch 24-track tape. And then we added a sequencer and then which would synchronize to the tape. And then we added Pro Tools rig, which also would synchronize to the tape. And then we evolved to where it was a Neve console. Joe upgraded his console significantly to a world-class Neve. And then we upgraded to Pro Tools HD. And then we didn't use the 24 tracks very much at that point. We didn't use open reel 2-inch anymore. And we did everything in Pro Tools. And then Just Push Play, which culminated, all of this tech that was at their house, was done in Pro Tools HD and mixed on an SSL console that Mike Shipley, God rest his soul, brilliant mixing engineer, is not with us any longer, but he worked on, Def Leppard, Hysteria, just great mixing engineer from Mutt Lange's world. He came in and we put an SSL in the house next to Joe's house. Joe got the house next door and we put the SSL in and then he mixed Just Push Play on that SSL with the tracks from Pro Tools. And now it's all Pro Tools. Joe still has the Neve. They're very much into tech. Very, very, there's a video on my YouTube channel of Joe Perry and myself from very recently of the two of us talking about some of the work we did. And one of the things we talked about and kind of, reminisced, if you will, was how much tech was going on. And you think of the world's greatest hard rock band and a band that's been around over 50 years, and you don't instantly think tech, right? Which is what makes your question so intriguing. You know, you just think rock, like put it in record and, you know, maybe you use a click, maybe you don't. And like, here are the tracks.
When you came over, it was like the first thing that we used was the MIDI part of it to trigger drum samples.
Yeah.
And that was like, that was it. And I remember trying to learn how to do it, and it didn't catch. You know what I mean? And it was like I found myself spending more time trying to figure out how to make the computer work. I was always on the phone with you, like we'd fucking spend an hour, you know, like working with the computer.
But in hindsight, that was a good thing because I got to spend a lot more time with you. Well, you had learned it. I might not have been there so long.
And I remember like, you know, we'd do that, you know, spend an afternoon, and then you're gone for like 10 minutes, and then I'm on the phone with you. Like, you know, what do I do? But that was it. That was the start of it. And it was actually the MIDI kind of function of, you know, and that triggered the drums, but it sounded great and you know, it was like a new language.
It's so much more than that. You know, these guys are they're so cutting edge and they're so progressive in how they're always thinking and how they're always pushing the envelope and saying, oh, can we do this? And can we do that? And the interesting thing is when you're not a technologist yourself, but you have very high end and high level thought process and ideas and dreams, if you will, and imagination. In the case of Steven Tyler, and he's got one of the most credible imaginations of anyone on the planet. When that's your approach, then it puts the onus on me to have to always have the answer and always be able to know what the translation is between this is the idea, this is the approach that they'd like to take, and this is the tech we need, and then put it all together and deliver it like on the spot. That's the gig for 35 years.
That's incredible because you're doing this all before YouTube. You're doing this all before the internet.
Totally.
You can't just pull out your phone and Google, okay, what piece of gear do I need? Or what does this piece of gear even do? So how did you learn that? Did you learn that by hanging out at music stores and just tinkering or manuals? Or what was the process for all that?
All of the above and a tremendous amount of reading. I would just devour at the time, the Bible for tech there were 3 magazines. Well, there were 4 magazines. There was one from the UK called Music Technology, which was awesome. And there was another one in the US called Keyboard. And then there were 3 more. So there's I guess 5 or so magazines. We had Music Technology, Sound on Sound in the UK, Keyboard here, Mix here, and EQ magazine. So those 5 magazines were the Bibles. And then we had Modern Drummer for all the drum stuff, for all the electronic drums in that lane. So it was really, those 6 magazines were monthly. So every month, you know, they would cover all the things that were, you know, that you would consider current and cutting edge and important and relevant. And then they would also give you little teasers like this is coming out or this software update's going to come. But to your point, not only did you not have any of the tools, as you mentioned, and you had to know what it was, you had to be really well researched and really, really experienced and have a lot of depth. But you also, all the software updates were on floppy drive. And you'd have to get a floppy drive FedEx to you. The floppy disk FedEx to you with the update. So every time, I have 30 pieces of gear, I might have a FedEx coming in every single day to update a different piece to get the update because it was all physical. And eventually then it went to CD-ROM. But for years, over 10 years, it was a lot of work, there were no efficiencies in how the software updates were delivered. It was all manual. So I had to get on the phone with the developer to have a relationship with that developer. They knew who I was. They knew what I was working on. So I had access to the software, and then stay in touch with all of them. It was like spinning plates. It's like juggling, and find out when all these updates. And so sometimes I call them, hey, we're having a crash on whenever we do this, the software crashes. Oh yeah, we fixed it with this. And they FedEx me the disc, and man, I can see how FedEx grew so fast. That was the time, but no internet. That was the only way. So it was really something, man. I can't believe it myself, Office Drummer. When I think about what we did and what we went through, I feel sometimes I feel like I sound like my dad, right? Where you have to go out and milk the cow to get milk, right? And you just kind of roll your eyes and go, oh my God, like what, like, get into the modern day, Dad. But when you go through that, and that's really how you did it, and then you look back because technology evolves so quickly, it really was something. And I really do look at that as there was a lot of learning, and I really appreciate the speed at which things can happen now, and just the evolution that the barriers have just been knocked down one after the other. It's like now it's just all about developing, building, evolving.
I love that because a certain part of me feels that having so much access and ability to just tap in, it almost, I don't want to say it devalues it, but it just that grind to get the information and be part of that is so exciting. It reminds me of a joke that I heard of back in the 80s. If you met a girl in with an AEROSMITH shirt on, you'd be like what is that? And then you'd think for 3 weeks about, oh, what band is that? You have to buy an album, and then you'd end up marrying her and stuff. But now today you just Google it, and in 5 minutes, So that's very interesting. And we have a question here from chat. It's a little bit of a side, but what was the single biggest moment for you that set AEROSMITH apart from the greatest, live or in studio?
What was the single biggest moment of what?
That set AEROSMITH apart from the greatest, live or in studio. What made them so great?
The chemistry. I mean, there's multiple answers to that you could, that are all valid, right? And they're all real answers. One is Stephen and Joe's brilliance of writing. Joe's riffs, Stephen's writing, like it's all the great hits that you hear and all the great music they've created. It's all five guys, but Stephen and Joe, were the catalysts on a lot of those songs. Tom obviously did James Get a Gun and Sweet Emotion. So he's done iconic songs with them as a member. But it's not just Stephen and Joe, it's the chemistry of the five of them. The way they played was so unbelievable and so tight and so just gelled. It's like the Stones, right? You listen to the Stones, it's just incredible how just they have this tight looseness, and you can't duplicate it. You can put like five great musicians on the stage to play drums and bass and guitar and sing, and they can play all the same notes, sing all the same lines, and it's not making heat. And it's the same thing with Joe and Stevens, like the way they play, and Tom and Brad and Joey. You put it all together, and it just created this gel and this sound. It's the best rock I've ever heard.
Amazing. Yeah, there's something special about that relationship you build when you're in a band with someone for so long. You've gone through so many experiences. It just clicks together when it comes together. So tell us a little bit about how Guitar Hero and that came about, and what was your involvement in that? I'm so interested to know about that.
Well, on any of the games, pinball machines, CD-ROM, the ride, whatever, it was, that each project, the company that was responsible, Guitar Hero or, whoever you want to name, whatever it was, they would come to the band through management, and they would say, okay, you know, there would be like a technical music person on the company side, and then they would interface with me, and they would say, okay, here's what we need. You know, here's what we need to do. Here's the overarching goal, and then here's what we, here's what we need from you. And so I would work with them, you know, whether that was getting multi stems, new mixes, edits, just kind of varied on every project. You know, they just need something from what we'll call the AEROSMITH vault. And a lot of times they needed a variation of it. So it wouldn't just be like if you can get a multi-track on an album from a label, right? You don't need to call the band, you need to call Geffen, you know, and say, hey, send me over, you know, now Universal, send me over the multi from, Crazy, the song on Get a Grip. So you wouldn't need us for that. But at that time, remember, my tenure with them with all these albums was 89 to 2001. So it's really the 90s is the time period because that's the whole decade. And so in that time, everything was still on tape. There was no Pro Tools, no hard disk files. And the band had a lot of times the band Aerosmith had the assets. So it would go nowadays, it would be a little different, you know, how the tracks would kind of go from place to place. But a lot of times they'd still go through the band, but it'd just be a little different path. But then a lot of it, I think virtually all of it went through the band. And so I would be the interface.
I'm not sure if you know this, but before AI could separate stems recently, a huge way to get and listen to a bunch of the stems from a bunch of rock songs was through leaked Guitar Hero stem tracks.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that, actually.
And so I went to this podcast filming for Jam Card where he broke down, I think it was Iron Maiden, and he isolated the vocals, and it's just like, it's so incredible. It's so cool to be able to just listen to the stems and stuff. You know, I love that.
Yeah.
So they have a Disney ride? I wasn't familiar with that.
They did at Hollywood Studios for up until right now. So it's been like 30 years that ride's been there. And when they did the music for the ride, when we did it, the Disney people Hollywood Studios brought over a VHS tape with time code on one side and the ride on the other, the video of the ride. And we synchronized all the hits and all the music to the video. And then then they resynced it when the ride actually happens. And that's how you hear all the music and all the hits and all the stuff on the ride.
Oh, wow. That's so cool. That's so crazy. I doubt that
And we did it at Stevens.
I doubt they saw themselves having a ride while they were coming up playing clubs and stuff like that.
30 years, that ride. Just closed now. Just closed. And it's going to be something else. I don't remember. Jay, do you remember what the ride is going to be? Who took it over? Do a quick Google. It's not an art. It's not a band. It's not the Flintstones. It's famous. A famous brand took the ride over. They haven't launched it yet, but it's coming any minute now. The new ride. But man, I bet ask Chad, anybody go on the ride?
Oh yeah, a bunch of people have been on the ride. They say, it's like at the end of the ride, it's a store with Aerosmith merch.
Yeah, at the end of the ride, you go through the store, and you buy your merch. It was called Rock and Roller Coaster, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, Rock and Roller Coaster. Yeah.
Always
And
active
it was right. It launched right around the time of the Armageddon movie, from my recollection. That's when it started. And then, because you lose track of the years and kind of forget like what year exactly was this or was that. But the new ride is I got to look and see. But look up it's going away, and there's a new franchise, if you will, that's going to take its place. So I hope whoever went on it, I hope you guys enjoyed it. And I thought the coolest thing was the beginning. when Walk This Way kind of goes really fast, left, right, like the stutter thing. I thought that was a cool effect. And that, oh, the Muppets. Thank you, Jay. Jason Mailer over here. J-Man, come on, say a quick hello to chat. Live. Here's the man.
Hey, Jay, what's up?
Yeah. How's it going? Jay. J-Man.
Nice.
Drummers. He's a great drummer. He's so many things to modern drummer that I don't have enough time on this chat to list them all, but he's amazing. He's a great friend. He's actually family. Thank you, Jay. So the Muppets. Yep. The Muppets. That's who's taking it over. That's it.
And the Muppets, they got a great drummer. Animal.
Yeah, they got a great drummer. Exactly. So we'll have to see. I didn't work on that one, so we'll see how it sounds.
Ah, darn. Well, we have some like general questions in the chat. Like, out of all the drummers, which one stands out from the rest?
Out of all the drummers?
Yeah. That's a very broad. I have such a hard time answering the question, who's your favorite drummer? I know for me, probably, that question, I think of like John Bonham, kind of defining the sound of rock.
Of course, he's one of them for sure. Yeah, no question. You can't have a conversation on rock drummers without John Bonham being in it. Of course, he died in 1980. I never got a chance to meet him or see him play live. Seen a million videos of him. He's one of my favorite drummers of all time. And I know his son, Jason, very well. And Jason, I have spent time with, and I have heard him play. And he's a great, great rock drummer in his dad's footsteps. But the question is, who's my favorite rock drummer?
Yeah. Who's your favorite rock drummer? Or who's had the most influence on you?
Well, my first favorite drummer was a prog rock drummer.
What's up, Ray?
So it's a little different. That was Carl Palmer. That was my first really big drum hero.
Who did he play with?
And Carl, he played with Emerson, Lake and Palmer, and then he played with Asia. And so I got to see him with Asia. And then, if you fast forward through his career, he's actually become a really good friend of mine. And we did a project together. We drummed together. We recorded a DVD and a CD together on the return of Emerson, Lake and Palmer. I mean, just incredible. That's a whole nother segment for us, talking about prog rock. We want to make it prog rock talk. Then Carl Palmer and his incredible legacy. But for straight rock, Bonham, Alex Van Halen. Of course, I love our good friend Nico, Iron Maiden, Nico McBrain. And there's so many. I mean, there's so many office drummers. There's so many great rock drummers. I can't just pick one. I can answer it through my career of who I would go see and who inspired me. Like we talked about John Bonham, Keith Moon. And these drummers that I was able to really, really be inspired by. But as my career grew and as my experience hearing drummers expanded quite a bit, and now with modern drummer, being next to world-class drummers almost every day of the week, there's just such a long list that it's impossible to make.
I want a little something.
Absolutely. Ray Vega asks, has David met Bill Ward and Ringo Starr, I wonder?
Ringo Starr is one of the most impactful, incredible rock drummers of all time. And no conversation about rock drumming can be had without Ringo. So you got Ringo, you got Charlie Watts, you've got Ginger Baker and Cream, you got Carmine Appice, who was with Vanilla Fudge at the time, and then went on to a number of other really big groups, Beck Bogart and Peace, Cactus, etc. And then you have John Bonham with Led Zeppelin, like kind of going in order a little bit. Like Bonham came out around the same time as Carmine. And then you have Keith Moon, also around the same time. Mitch Mitchell with Jimi Hendrix.
Yes.
And that's kind of the 60s of, even though it goes right up to 1969, goes right to the end of the 60s, that's kind of the 60s greatest rock drummers who to this day are still they're still the greatest rock drummers. And then there were just more drummers after them. But that was the beginning of the rock's greatest drummers.
Absolutely, and they all define the sound. I mean, they created the sound that we think of as rock. So that's a very good answer. And a lot of people in the chat are obviously saying Neil Peart.
Yeah, well, he came in the 70s. So, of course, Neil Peart, no question. But, you know, if we go in order, you know, Rush, he joined Rush right around 74-ish, I guess. So it was, you know, it was the mid-70s approached us. But absolutely one of the greatest rock drummers ever. A lot of people consider him the greatest rock drummer, you know, and, you know, I mean, Rush is like prog rock. That's more like in the Carl Palmer lane than the Beatles and, you know, Zeppelin lane. But nonetheless, rock and one of the greatest drummers of all time. And modern drummer produces with his wife, with Neil's wife, Gary, and his daughter, Olivia, the Neil Peart Scholarship, the Spirit of Drumming Scholarship, which we offer every year to up and coming drummers that apply, and we pick one. And it's something that that Neil's honor and in his legacy is a really big deal every year, and somebody gets a lot of benefit in Neil's name from this scholarship. So we're very proud, because Neil was a really close collaborator of modern drummers. So it just made sense to expand on his legacy and bring impact to future generations of drummers in his name and through his spirit, which is Spirit of Drumming. Of course, that's the take on Spirit of Radio. You know, we're all Rush heads here, and Neil lives forever.
Absolutely. And what a lyricist as well. He wrote the lyrics for Rush. Well, tell us, can you give us a little final story about Aerosmith? Something that pops to your mind when you think of your time working with them.
Man, there's so many stories. And there's so many memories that, I'll give you one, and then we'll call it a day, because you can hear them in a very noisy backstage area. I don't know if you guys can hear it there or not. But so there's one. So during the Get a Grip writing sessions, we had a day off, and it turns out it wasn't a day off, because it's funny. Joe and Steven said, "Hey, tomorrow we're not gonna work." And then I left the house in the morning, the day off, and I went to a computer store. Right, that's how much of a nerd I am. Right, that my day off, I go to an Apple computer store. Now, this is before Apple had their own stores, so it was like a store that sold Macintosh and Apple, but it was a third party. So I go there to get a software update on CD-ROM, and I come home. And my answering machine is blinking like out of control. I'm like, what the hell? How could I have gotten this many calls in an hour? And so I listen to the machine, and it's Steven leaving message after message after message. And he's going on the message. He's like doing a triplet drum beat on the message. And it's just like, okay, I mean, it's character, right? So I call him back. And no cell phones, right? I call landline. Steven, what's going on? He's like, oh, we decided to work. Get down here. I said, oh, okay, wow, okay, cool. All right. He's like, yeah. And bring your groove. I said, okay. So I hang up. I drive down. I walk in the studio. He goes, we need you. So on a drum machine, I program this triplet groove. And Taylor Rhodes is there, Joe and Steven, myself. We put this track together. It's Crying. We write Crying, the song, which ends up being a top 10 hit, wins a Grammy, the whole thing. We work on Crying, right? That was the beginning of it. And if you listen to Crying, you'll hear that it's a triplet. It's like a 12/8 groove. And that was the origin of it. That was the day they started to write it. And it just kind of came out. It's like started to be created, and they didn't want to capture it. They brought me right back down, and we did and next thing you know, so then we fast forward, the album comes out. I'm at the first show of the Get a Grip tour. I'm with the band, and I'm standing in front of the house, and Steven, if you know how crying starts, it goes, dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. So it's all this big triplet build up thing. And so Steven says to the crowd, when I count to 3 and I say do it, you guys count with me. When I say do it, you count 1, 2, 3. Right? So he goes, do it. And the whole crowd, 20,000 people go, man, kicks the beginning of the song and on the count off. And I hadn't heard him do that before. And I'm standing there, and the sound, like between the crowd and the sound, like my hair, as little as I have, my hair is just blowing back at the energy. And it brought me back to that day when I was in the studio. We started to work on that song and I get the triplet beat on my answering machine, and here's Brian playing with 20,000 people singing along with it, screaming at the top of their lungs, counting the song in. I'll never forget that moment.
Please tell me you saved that voicemail.
Office drummer, I don't think I have it anymore. It was on cassette, and I think somewhere during my last 35, I know, can you believe it? There's some really great stuff that I didn't save that are part of it, but that's a hell of a story, right?
That's incredible. I can't even believe it. I mean,
So we got a lot more because, like Ozzy, we need to do an Aerosmith part 2.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for the rock knowledge. And another episode of Rock Talk coming next week, guys. Thursdays at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m.
Every
Eastern.
Thursday.
Yep.
We are talking rock, and we love being with you guys. Just chat. Have any last questions before I sign off and you keep rocking?
Chat, if you got any questions, now's your time. Now's your time. You can ask about Ozzy, Aerosmith, the drum world, anything you want. Van Halen.
Yeah,
Iron Maiden.
We've covered some amazing artists.
T4 Echo's asking for an Iron Maiden episode. I think we'll have to do one eventually.
All right, we will do one. Yeah, I'll corral Nico, and we'll do one with Nico. We'll do one together.
That would be amazing. Oh my God.
Let's do that. Nico's away right now, but he'll be back in about a week and a half. So might be for next one, but probably the week after that, and we'll figure it out.
All right, we got a couple questions, so we'll do it. We'll do lightning round. Have you met Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers?
I know Stan Lynch very well, the original drummer and the drummer on all the iconic records, right? Refugee and all of just so many great songs. But I never met Tom. I saw him play live. I did see him in concert, but I never met him before he passed away.
Favorite Aerosmith track?
It's like, ooh, God, how do you pick one? I mean, it would be so easy to say Dream On because that's one of everybody's favorite songs. It's one of the most iconic songs in history. Favorite song I worked on, I would say probably Love in an Elevator.
Amazing. Who's your favorite newish rock band that maybe some people haven't heard of?
You know what? Star Ace.
Star Ace?
Star Ace. Capital STAR, capital ACE. Star Ace. They have an album called Real. I produced it with the band, and the album is awesome. They're an awesome rock band. They're based in Brazil, but it's real rock. Sing in English, of course, and it's an awesome record with great songs. So Star Ace Real. It's on all the platforms. You can hear it everywhere. But we could do an episode on Star Raid sometime if chat goes and listens to the record and they love it as much as we do.
Okay, 2 more questions. Have you worked with Michael Schechner or Uli John Roth?
Michael Schenker.
Schenker.
Yeah, so Michael Schenker, the famous European guitarist. I had never worked with him. I love his stuff. Michael Schenker Group, MSG, as it is. But I've worked with his brother, who's in the Scorpions. And so, yeah, Rudolph, but not Michael, no.
All right, one final question. Rock Talk with Stuart Copeland.
What do you think? Chocolate, pistachio?
Rock Talk, what?
Rock Talk with Stuart Copeland.
Oh, wow, I love Stuart. Such an iconic drummer. It's possible. I'll ask him.
You never know, guys. You
All
never
he can
know,
say
chat.
is all he can say is yes or no.
That's true.
I don't know, but I love Stuart. What an amazing drummer.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, David. We appreciate you.
Guys,
Everybody,
thank you. Appreciate you guys. Love you guys. Chat. Stay safe. Office Drummer. We'll see you guys next week on Rock Talk.
moderndrummer.com. Check out Modern Drummer on YouTube. Subscribe to the magazine. And we'll be back next week.
Please.
Thank you, David.
Yep. David Frangioni checking out.